Good afternoon, everybody. Great to be with you again. Brad Macbeth here from the Simple Plan, and here we are, Simple Plan Live. This is the third week of our 7 Steps to Retirement Security. Don't worry, retire happy. And this is just so timely. There's a lot going on. Let me have a quick look here. Let's just pull her right up. We'll find out what the latest is. Today with markets, it's been kind of ugly. Things were, down 2.91% today. So what does that mean? I like looking at the year to date because that's when things really started going ugly. So we're now down 18.7%. And people, experts, I don't know if you notice that in the news now. We never actually hear from any real people. It's just always experts are saying, or people are saying, or the vibe on Twitter is this, whatever. But there is a growing consensus among some economic pundits that we are going to be hearing the R word officially in July. That's in about a month from now. The R word being recession. There is an actual real definition of recession, but it's looking like we're heading that way and kind of stuck in wheel spinning mode, which is unpleasant. We've got fuel prices going up constantly. We've got inflation hammering away at us, and interest rates climbing. They went up again this week, or was it last? I think it was last week actually they went up. And they are destined to go up again because inflation is not really abating yet. We should hear the US numbers for inflation shortly for last month, and then Canada is a little slower. But I don't see any reason to think it's any different. I'm sure we're all still enjoying the shell shock of grocery shopping every week, where you just constantly hear everybody exclaiming, I can't believe it's this much now. So unpleasant. That's the only word for it. And what we're looking at as we're looking through our 7 steps to retirement security is ways that we can address that. Some of the ways we normally would address it have been faltering, and there are some creative ways that we can address these issues. So today we're on to step 3, which is hybrid retirement. Just bear with me here. I have a momentary technical doodad to get sorted. Yeah, so come on. Where are we here? Please stand by. Really? It'd be like that, is it? Oh, no, starting all over again. Well, just never mind then. We won't bother fixing that for this broadcast. So we need to be creative. We need to not bemoan where we're at. You'll notice that in all the scary news that I mentioned, I didn't even mention the pandemic, which of course has not gone away. It is still definitely going on. Lots of people still getting COVID, and we'll no doubt see some kind of uptick in that in the fall, which will have its own effects on everything. And in addition, of course, we've also got political upheaval. We've got a war going on. It's choppy, uncertain times. So what can we do? We can't change these big things that are going on, but we can manage the smaller things that we have control over. And so a lot of what we're doing is we're looking at ways that we can control things in our own finances. So as part of the Don't Worry, Retire Happy, today we're looking at considering hybrid retirement and what exactly that means. So I want to thank our sponsor, as always, the Simple Plan community. We've been posting in there this week, as we always do. Facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. Come on, join us in there. It's free. We'd love to have you bring your questions, bring your thoughts, your aspirations, your hopes, your dreams, and your plans. And you'll have people to walk together with, and we're happy to help you out with those. Um, whoop. So today's tools, let's pull her up there. Let me go over here. Boom. Okay, so this is a little complicated to look at. It's not something that you get access to. This is our tool that we use for planning the future of our clients. You'll see that this is kind of a higher level view. It does get more complex in parts. So it's a fully fledged retirement planning tool that we use that looks at your sources, all your various sources of income, optimizes the way that you should be taking that income so that we can minimize your tax and other nasty things like that we talked about last week, like the clawback on the old age security. Also optimizes your estate and minimizes taxation on that. So what I want to show you today is what a hybrid retirement can do for you. And so before we kind of dig in there, let me explain a bit about what I mean by a hybrid retirement. A hybrid retirement is a retirement. Let's talk about the definition of retirement first. So when we talk about retirement, people often think of, boom, I'm just stopping working. There's a gold watch, there's a party, there's cake. Maybe we go out for drinks. And I go from one day working 40 hours a week to the next day never working another minute in my life. And I'm destined to play golf, go on cruises, or spend the winters in Arizona or Florida or wherever, or Mexico. And you know, that kind of was sort of the way it was for some people back when, but it really isn't so cut and dried now. So let's start with the definition of retirement. The real retirement is simply shifting from you living off the income that you generate from working to living off the income that you generate from your assets, which are often investments, but could be other things, could be real properties you own or businesses you have an interest in or what have you. So that you're no longer earning a paycheck by exchanging hours, exchanging your time for that paycheck by offering whatever it is you do. Now, what you may do in that retirement can vary dramatically. And so I want to add a little spin on that and say, well, let's think of retirement as when we step away from that permanent condition of working that we've been in to generating income from our assets, but also perhaps from, let's call them side hustles to use the current parlance. And now I'm not talking about you're going to run out and start driving for skip the dishes, though you might do that. But that rather than remaining a full-time employee with full benefits of a company or being fully involved in something, you were perhaps going to step back and transition slowly from full-time gainful employment to some form of working, perhaps less and on different terms, and maybe some form of taking some income from your existing financial assets. And there's a number of reasons to consider this. The primary one is you may not have saved enough money to achieve what you want. But the other is, many of us, and this can be particularly true for men, but many of us are not well equipped to not be gainfully occupied by something like work. We're kind of built to work, and people don't fare well, and again, this tends to be more true among men, if they don't have some kind of structured environment to operate in. Now, some people do perfectly fine, or they go and create their own structure that's completely outside of any kind of working. But we need to be cautious about that. So I'm just going to talk about it from the financial point of view today as to why we would explore hybrid retirement. And I'm going to do it just by kind of expanding on a bit of what we've been talking about, showing this is a very simplified example of what we might experience. So let's go back. So this table, there's a bunch of information entered in here, and this generates a view that explains to us a number of things. So the way that we think about retirement when we're helping people to build a plan is we think in terms of this, after-tax spending. Because after-tax spending is really what it's all about. We want to optimize after-tax spending. We want to maximize it for you. And that's because it has these two essential components. What is the maximum income you can derive from your assets? And what is the minimum amount of tax that you can pay? And by maximizing after-tax spending, we ensure that we're maximizing your income and minimizing how taxable that is. And so you'll see in our case here, I've taken a fictional couple, John and Jane, who are 37 and 33. And they're earning income. I haven't indexed their income, so you can see the actual effects of inflation because we have the after-tax spending in real dollars versus nominal dollars. Nominal dollars is basically your purchasing power. So what you can purchase with $88,840, what you can purchase with $88,840, you're going to need more to purchase the same amount. Or to put it another way, if inflation is happening, well, you may be able to buy $88,000 worth of goods this year. With inflation, next year you'll only be able to buy it at $86,000 worth of goods, and the year after that, $84,000 worth of goods. And mind you, this is set to only 2.5% inflation, nothing like what we're currently experiencing. Okay, so knowing that, we want to maximize our after-tax spending in real dollars. Now, I haven't, for our income, you see our taxable income. This is our combined income for our couple. I haven't added that they're going to get raises, which no doubt they will. So you'll see that their spending power is eroding all the way through here. But don't worry about that. That's not what I'm trying to illustrate here. So we look at this and we see, okay, let's just go look at what's going to happen. I've got them with some existing combined RSPs, and I seem to recall I've got them saving 15% of their income because we believe that's where you want to be at. Or at least in Canada, if you do that, you can rest assured that you are going to reach a comfortable retirement compared to your working life. So we've got him contributing $13,500 a year to his RSP, and there's a rate of 6.78% there as well. Rate of return. So it's a relatively conservative rate of return. But again, we're not really, the point of this, I'm just showing you how it works. Doesn't really matter what those numbers are, because all we're wanting to compare is the effect of timing our retirement. So let's say that we fast forward. This scenario is set up to retire at age 65. So let's fast forward, and so what we've calculated is based on all our savings. We can have approximately $93,000 in after-tax spending once we retire. Now, you'll notice that in actual dollars at that time, that is 2050, they're going to be taking out $185,000, paying $38,000 in tax on that. I've not made any effort yet to optimize how much tax they're paying. That's outside the scope of what we're talking about today. So they've got $93,000, which that's not bad, but they were hoping for a little more, feeling like that might be a little tight for what they want to do. And so, actually, no, pardon me. 93,000 is what they could get at age 65. What they're interested in is they want to look at retiring early. So I've built one as well with the same assumptions. Now, I just have them getting the national average for CPP and the maximum OAS. And all they've got going on other than that is their investments in their RSPs. Okay, so at age 65, they could retire with about 93,000 in after-tax spending in real dollars. So let's go look at another scenario. Let's go look at the age 60 scenario. So we've done the same thing, the same analysis, the same investments, the same deposits, all the same assumptions. The only thing we've done in this case is we have changed the retirement date. So now they're going to retire early, which of course has a number of effects. It means they're going to stop bringing in money from employment, but they're 5 years early. But they're also going to start drawing down their investments 5 years earlier. So that nest egg they've got has to last 5 years longer. And this is projected out, by the way, to, I think, age 95. No, age 100. We project out to age 100. Honestly, it's not particularly safe to do otherwise now because of the increases that are coming along in longevity. For example, a couple that reaches retirement age at age 65, there's a high likelihood, I could think about a 50%, well, 50% of the people, of those couples who reach retirement age at age 65, will have one of them survive until age 93. And 25% will have one of them survive till I believe it's age 97. So this is why we plan to age 100, because it's very difficult to go and deal with it if you run out of money when you're 97 years old. Okay, so now here's the effect of what's happened is by stopping earlier, that 5-year effect, rather than having 93,000 in after-tax spending, we're down to 65,000, let's call it, in after-tax spending. So we've taken a real hit. I mean, you can decide for yourself what your desire is for income, but this is the trade-off of retiring 5 years earlier, is you're cutting your income by about a third. It's quite significant. Other than that, everything stays the same, but you can see where that cut is. We're receiving significantly less in CPP and OAS. CPP I set to take earlier at age 60, which is not uncommon. A lot of people do that, and very few people defer to age 70. Okay, so this is what happens if we retire early. Here's another way to think about it. If we measure our working life from age, let's call it age 25, okay, we're just kind of goofing around before then, or maybe we're going to university or whatever, but we don't really get down to serious working until age 25. Well, if we're going to work to age 65 and we live to age 95, that means we have 40 years of income earning to build up a nest egg, so from 25 to 65, and then we have 30 years if we project to age 95. Well, let's project age 100. We've got 35 years of life. So 40 years of working, we have to save enough money to have 35 years to live. So in other words, in the 40 years that we're working, we have to save enough for almost one entire new working life where we're not earning an income. We've got 40 years, because in that 40 years of income, we have to fund our living for those 40 years. And then we have to fund the additional 35 years that are coming later. That's the dynamic at age 65. At age 60, we are having to fund 35 years of retirement from 60 to 95 out of our 35 years of working from 25 to 60. In other words, we're double funding life during our working period. Now, if we go, so we have a 1-to-1 ratio at that point. Now, if instead we defer retirement until we're 70, so that's 45 years of working, and now we only have 25 years of retirement. So that's that actual ratio is 9-to-5, so almost 2-to-1. So we go from 25 to 60 with our early retirement at 1-to-1, and we almost have 2-to-1 the other way. So you can see that why mathematically we get a lot more flexibility if we leave the option open to conduct a hybrid retirement. Now, there's lots of ways we can do this hybrid retirement. All it really requires is that we could still, so let's say we have a major career that we just want out of, and we want out at age 62. But we're prepared to keep working. We just don't want to do this anymore. So at age 62, we stop that thing, but we don't start living off our assets. Instead, for the next 8 years, we're going to use a combination of side hustles and maybe some careful living to fund our continuing life. And maybe we don't continue to add additional money into our retirement nest egg, but we don't start drawing it down either. So we're going to give it 8 more years to grow. Well, at the same time, we're just going to earn enough money to fund our operation for those 8 years. Then at age 70, we can start drawing down all that money. Many people are actually able to step out of, and so there's a wide array of side hustles you could do there. Many of them are simple. There's lots of online work. There's lots of different things. But also, you could just become someone who retires as a full-time employee from somewhere, but then consults back to the company. So you kind of get off the payroll as a major salary. You're also not, perhaps not eligible for benefits, which means you got to figure that part out. But you still provide the employer with a service, and you earn that additional paycheck that's going to float your boat for those next 8 years until you reach age 70. So now let's look at what happens if we defer. So we have $93,000 in income is reduced to 64 at the early retirement, call it 65. Let's go see what happens if we actually instead defer to age 70. Okay, so here we go. Gotta go all the way down. Oh my goodness. So age 70, we've deferred until, and now we're taking in $117,000. And that's because our CPP and our OAS are significantly higher. You would see some clawback under this scenario. Not sure if that's factored in there or not. It may be. Actually, it looks like it is. Yeah, it is factored in here. So now we have $117,000. Remember, this is an after-tax spending. Your house is paid for, hopefully. You don't have any debt. So that's just cash in your pocket. But compare that with $65,000. Now this is a 10-year delay from 60 to 70. But at $117,000, you're at about, well, let's put it the other way around. At $65,000, you're living on about less than 60% of what you can earn if you, or what you can live on if you delay to age 70. Now, there may be reasons you don't want to do this, or there may be reasons you can't do this. Reason you couldn't do it is that you just can't continue to work. And so you're going to need to, or you can't figure out some side hustle or what have you. So you're going to need to take some of that income. So that's fine too. Hybrid is very flexible. Take a portion and do some other work. You don't have to take it, you don't have to delay it all or take it all. You can always delay some and take some. So I think it's very important for people to think to give a lot of thought to what you're going to do about retirement. It's unfortunately something people spend very little time thinking about, and when they get there, men especially can often find themselves at sea. They really just don't know what they're doing. A lot of times people are making poor choices financially, some of which really can't be reversed. And by the way, if you're just listening to this and you figure out, oh, I've retired too early, or I should reverse some of these things, you can opt within the first couple of years to change your CPP election. You have flexibility. You can always make changes. Even if you've started drawing a pension that you decided, well, maybe I shouldn't have taken it so early, that's fine. Let's get it invested. Let's put it in some investments. Let's get it working for you, and let's go back to whatever, consulting or side hustle or whatever, so that you can earn some income to keep things moving along while you wait for a better timing for retirement. Because it's very difficult to unring these bells once you're a number of years down the road. And so you really want to give some thought, and you really have to put together call it a cash flow plan for your retirement. That is how much money you're going to want to live on. And if you don't have a handle on that in your own life, you are building on a very shaky foundation. If you don't have that set, kind of nailed down in your own life, day to day, how you manage your money and what you're spending it on by choice, where the money's going, what job every dollar is doing, then you are building on a very shaky foundation, because you don't really know your own numbers. And we really have to know our own numbers in order to be able to have confidence, but also to be able to manage if we have difficulties that we face, which, again, right now, many people are going through that. So one of the biggest problems people are facing right now is the cost of food, the cost of eating out. All these things have gone up dramatically. And people don't have a grasp on what they're spending their money on in the first place. And so they don't know how they can adjust, or if they can adjust. Because if they can't adjust, if they're already living kind of bare bones for food, going without food is not something that you would want to select as an option. So then you don't try to do that, because you realize, well, this is as good as I can do on this. So instead you go out and say, well, listen, I'm going to go out and earn some extra money, or I'm going to, level up my employment. For whatever reason, it's right now, it's very, very strong times for employees to be able to get work. And unfortunately, it seems to be the nature of our world right now that to do well, to be able to get a promotion, get a raise, a lot of times we either have to switch jobs or at least get a job offer from somewhere else that we can then take to our employer and say, listen, I don't want to leave, but I need the extra money, and so I'm going to leave unless you can match this, or whatever. But it's very much in the employee's power right now, if you're willing to put some effort into dealing with that. So I want to encourage you. Most people spend much more time planning the one vacation they're going to take this year than they spend planning the retirement that they're going to live in for 30 to 40 years. And it all seems like, well, it's a lot of decisions, and you really should work with an advisor for this, because there's so many pieces and parts to it, but only you can make the decisions. And often this stuff is presented to us very simply. You get a letter from CPP saying, do you want to take it now? Do you want to take it later? Well, I don't know. Human nature very much is, oh, well, I'll take it now. We're not good at deferring our pleasure. But we really need to make big plans around this because it's a big part of taking care of one another, especially in a couple. Because one day, one person's going to be gone and the other person is going to have to manage, and they're going to be managing based on the decisions that have been made in the past, and they're not going to have anyone else to rely on. So if you want to take care of yourself and your spouse, you need to be making a very solid plan for retirement. So I hope this has helped you to see why a hybrid retirement could be something that could be very powerful for you. Maybe it's not something you need. Maybe you've got all the money you need to live the way that you want to in retirement, and you're well on your way, and that's fantastic. I hope that is the case for most of you. But you really should be making a plan around this stuff. One other quick side note I'll show you based on that people often don't think about. Let's imagine that John and Jane, now they might not have done this, but let's say that they had accumulated all this money in their RSP. In this case, it's $4.4 million. And they are both, they die tragically together in a car accident, for example. Well, that $4.4 million is going to come out as a taxable gain. It's income. It's treated as income in their final income tax return that's filed on their behalf after their death. And they are going to pay, no matter where you live in Canada, it varies, but not a lot, somewhere on the order of $2 million in tax on that. So that $4.4 million that you sweated for, built, sacrificed, saved for, and grew, half of that is going to go to the government in one fell swoop. Now, there's ways to plan around that. There's better choices, different choices to make to prevent that from happening. But they have to be made early. They can't be made once you've put all the money in and it's all grown inside the RSP. There's no fixing that problem. So these are the benefits of planning. I highly encourage you to have a plan. You'll notice that the folks in this plan are 37 and 33. Listen, the best time to make a plan is when you're young because it gives you the most flexibility. So start young, and if you can't start young, start today. You need to get a plan going, and if you have any questions, we're happy to answer your questions. Easy way, low rent, low barrier to entry way is join the Simple Plan community. That's at facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. But another way is that you can join with us. I'm happy to sit down, have an initial conversation with you, help you figure out what your next steps might be. You can book an appointment at go.getthesimpleplan.com/calendar-new. And just sign up for a 15-minute introductory appointment there. There's no cost, no obligation. Happy to just have a chat, can answer your specific question or your broad questions. There you see the address up there. Oh, it's gone back to red again. It always does that. How exciting. Okay, so one more. Let me just put up one more link for you there. Where can I find that? You can stay on top of everything that we do by subscribing to our newsletter. And that, you can do it at this page. This is the page. And we'll just put that up on the screen there for you. Join us there. You'll get that every week. It has the link to each week's live broadcast. So if you didn't get to see it, you can go see it there. So you can get that at Let's just move that up there a bit so it's a little easier to read. go.getthesimpleplan.com/subscribe. And yeah, you'll get that in your email inbox every week. And it has the link to this week's live. Also has tips, information, and keeps you up to date on everything that we're up to. So I hope that this is starting to give you that sense of what you want to be doing, what you need to be doing with respect to your own finances. That's week 3 in the books for our 7 steps to retirement security. Don't worry, retire happy. Next week, we're going to look at how to protect our savings from inflation. And as you can see, as we're all having a very real experience right now, inflation can really chew away at things. And if you're someone who's on a fixed income because you're in retirement, then if you haven't put in place a plan to deal with inflation, it can be very difficult. So tune in next week. We're going to go over that with you. And I look forward to seeing you again. Have a great week. Thanks for being with us. Brad McBeth from The Simple Plan Live.